Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to talk about why so many people stay stuck in the same life, even when they deeply want change. If you enjoy calm and meaningful English stories, stay with me until the end. Wanting more but living the same. Every day many people say they want a different life. They want more peace, better habits, stronger confidence, more money. Or simply a life that feels lighter and more meaningful. They think about change often. They promise themselves that next week will be different, that next month will be better, or that soon they will finally become the person they keep imagining in their mind. But then the days pass, and life still looks almost the same. They wake up with the same thoughts, follow the same routine, make the same excuses, and end the day with the same quiet disappointment. Nothing is completely falling apart, but nothing is truly moving forward either. That is what makes this kind of stuck life so painful. It is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is just a slow feeling. Your life is repeating itself while your heart wants something more. This happens to more people than we think. From the outside, they may look normal and fine. They go to work, talk to friends, smile, and keep going. But inside, they feel tired of being in the same place. They know they want change, yet somehow they keep protecting the very life they say they want to leave. So why does this happen? Why do people stay stuck even when they are unhappy with where they are? Why do they keep living the same life, even while dreaming about a different one? That is the question we are going to explore today. Because sometimes the reason we stay stuck is not as simple as laziness. Sometimes it is much quieter, deeper, and more human than that. The comfort trap. One big reason people stay stuck is comfort. This may sound strange, especially when life does not feel very good. But comfort is not always happiness. Sometimes comfort is simply what feels familiar. A person may feel tired, bored, or disappointed with life, yet still keep doing the same things because those things feel known and safe. Change sounds exciting in the mind, but in real life it often feels uncomfortable. A new habit feels hard, a new plan feels uncertain, a new step feels risky. Even when people want a better life, part of them still wants the safety of the old one. That is why they stay in routines that no longer help them. The routine may not be making them stronger, but it feels easier than the unknown. This happens in many ways. Some people stay in habits that waste their time because those habits feel relaxing. Some stay in jobs they no longer love because change feels scary. Some keep thinking the same negative thoughts because even those thoughts have become familiar. The mind often chooses what it knows, even when what it knows is keeping life small. That is what makes comfort a trap. It does not look dangerous. It does not shout. It simply whispers, "Stay here. This is easier. You can change later." And little by little, later becomes next week, next month, and then another year. So people do not always stay stuck because they want a bad life. Very often they stay stuck because the familiar feels safer than the possible. And until they are willing to feel a little discomfort, the same life keeps repeating itself. Fear makes small prisons. Comfort is not the only reason people stay stuck. Fear also plays a very important role. In fact, many people do want change, but fear quietly stops them before they even begin. The fear may not always look big from the outside, yet inside the mind it can feel very powerful. Some people are afraid of failing. They think, what if I try and nothing changes? Others are afraid of looking foolish. They worry that people will judge them if they start something new and do not do it well. Some are afraid of choosing the wrong path, so they keep choosing nothing at all. And many people are afraid of losing the little stability they already have, even if that stability is not making them happy. That is how fear creates small prisons. The door may not be locked, but the person still does not move. They stay in the same place, not because movement is impossible, but because fear makes every step feel dangerous. It tells them that staying where they are is safer than trying something uncertain. The problem is that fear rarely disappears while we are waiting. If anything, it often grows stronger. The longer a person delays change, the more difficult change begins to feel. After some time, even a small new step can feel too big. This is why many people remain in the same life for years. They are not only trapped by their situation, they are also trapped by the stories fear keeps repeating in their mind. And until they question those stories, fear will continue to protect the old life, even when that life no longer feels right. Small habits keep the same life alive. Fear may stop people from making big changes, but small habits are often what keep the same life going day after day. Many people imagine that a stuck life comes only from one big problem. In reality, it is often built by many small choices that look harmless on their own. A little delay here, a little avoidance there, and the same pattern repeats again. This happens more often than people realize. A person says they want a better future, but they keep sleeping late, scrolling too much, and putting hard tasks off until tomorrow. They want stronger habits, but they choose what feels easy again and again. They want change, but their daily actions still belong to the old life. That is why habits matter so much. Life does not change only because a person wants it to. It changes when daily behavior begins to move in a new direction. If the same choices are repeated every day, the same results will continue. The future may look different in the imagination, but real life is still being built by the routine of the present. Many stuck lives are not created by one terrible decision. They are created by small repeated actions that slowly become normal. Avoiding discomfort becomes normal. Waiting for motivation becomes normal. Wasting time becomes normal. And after a while, the person begins to think this is simply who they are. But it is not who they are. It is only the pattern they have practiced for too long. And that is important because patterns can change. Once a person sees that their routine is helping the stuck life survive, they can begin to build a different one. One small choice at a time. The hidden role of self-doubt. Another reason people stay stuck is self-doubt. This part is often quiet but very powerful. A person may say they want change, yet deep inside, they do not fully believe they can create it. They may start something with hope. But when the first difficulty comes, a small voice inside says, "This will not work for me," or "People like me do not really change." That voice can affect everything. It makes effort feel useless before the result has time to grow. It makes small progress look unimportant. It makes a person compare themselves to others and feel behind too quickly. Because of that, they often stop early. They begin a new habit, a new plan, or a new goal. but they quit before the change becomes strong enough to shape their life. Self-doubt is dangerous because it does not always sound dramatic. Sometimes it sounds practical. It says, maybe this is just not for me, or I should wait until I feel more ready. But behind those thoughts there is often a deeper fear. The fear that trying fully and still failing would hurt too much. So the person protects themselves by not going all the way. This is how self-doubt keeps the same life alive. It weakens action, lowers patience, and steals belief from the future before the future even arrives. A person does not need perfect confidence to change, but they do need enough trust to keep going when the results are still small. Without that trust, they keep returning to the same place, not because change is impossible, but because they stop too soon to see what change could have become. Change begins when excuses lose power. A stuck life usually starts to change when a person becomes more honest with themselves. They stop saying, "I will do it later," and begin to ask, "Why do I keep choosing later?" They stop blaming only time, mood, luck, or other people, and start looking at the patterns they repeat every day. This is not about being cruel to yourself. It is about seeing the truth clearly enough to do something different. Real change does not usually begin with one huge moment. It begins with smaller decisions that break the old pattern. A person wakes up and chooses to do one hard thing first. They spend less time avoiding and more time acting. They stop waiting to feel fully ready. They start before they feel confident. They make one better choice, then try to repeat it again the next day. This is where many people get confused. They think change must feel powerful from the beginning. But often it feels slow, uncomfortable, and even a little boring. That does not mean it is not working. In fact, many good changes are quiet at first. They do not look dramatic, but they slowly create a new direction. Excuses lose power when action becomes more important than comfort. The person may still feel fear. They may still feel doubt, but they stop letting those feelings decide everything. Instead of asking, "Do I feel ready?" they begin to ask, "What is the next honest step?" That is how life starts to move, not by magic and not all at once, but by small actions that no longer protect the old version of life. And once those actions begin to repeat, the stuck life slowly loses its control. You do not need to change your whole life in one day. That idea often makes people feel even more tired, because it sounds too big and too far away. What you really need is something smaller and more possible. One honest step in a new direction. A stuck life does not disappear all at once. It begins to weaken when you stop protecting it with the same excuses, the same habits, and the same fear. This matters because many people think they are trapped forever. They look at their life and believe this is simply how things will always be. But that is not always true. A life can look the same for a long time and still begin to change in quiet ways. One better habit can change the rhythm of a day. One brave decision can create a new path. One repeated action can slowly build a different future. The truth is simple, even if it is not easy. If your choices change, your direction changes. You do not need perfect confidence. You do not need to feel fully ready. You only need to stop giving all your power to comfort, fear, and delay. So if you feel stuck, do not hate yourself for it. Be honest with yourself instead. Look at what is keeping the old life alive and then begin there. Maybe the first step is small. Maybe nobody else even sees it. But it still matters. A different life does not begin when everything around you suddenly changes. It begins when you decide that the old pattern no longer gets to choose for you. And sometimes that one decision is enough to begin moving again.